he's under All-Star Lake. Like to call to order the Beaver County Board of Commissioners work session meeting for Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. We have a review of work session discussion meeting minutes. No changes.
I'm good.
Department head report we'll move to. Dan, Tim, okay.
First of all, I wanted to check and see about 6 weeks out, or less than 6 weeks out on the food truck. And we're at that point where we make a decision as to whether we're going to
What is, I'm sure we probably will have different thoughts up here. What is your recommendation? What is your opinion from what you see going across, southwestern Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth with events like this? I think, I saw a lot of events canceled, and it looks like some people are trying maybe to scurry and get them back because they're, I don't want to say prematurely canceled, but I understand the 250 max limit. It doesn't seem that the governor has put any indication that there's going to be another phase right now. I haven't heard anything from, make it a broader, the 250 gathering, is it detailed? Is that indoor for weddings and events, or is that outdoor? I could tell you that I've been to a public pool in the last 2 weeks and there's more than 250 people there. And they said that they're within their guidelines because of square footage.
What I have, the information I've been tracking since this started, outside the most recent guidelines they passed is 24 people per 1,000 square foot. So when we're talking food truck festival, we're talking outside. So that's really the baseline that we're using. All right. Now, we can figure out the diameter of that service area right there. Take out the trees, roughly 200 square foot per trailer, and figure out what that might be, and try to figure out what that event could potentially within guidelines hold along those lines. The 250 benchmark is a kind of tiered, and this comes from indoor and outdoor situations. 250 is based on being able to maintain social distance protocols. All right, so even though your square footage says that you can have 250, there's still a requirement to 6 feet. Yeah, and where I sent you earlier regarding my indoor things, which is the next question I'll follow up with. They basically say if you start to get your square footage and divide by 36, 6 by 6 foot, 6 by 6 foot.
So I guess my question is if you're there with or if I'm there with my wife and 2 kids, do we have to be 6 feet apart? So I guess that's my question is, does that mean there could be 250 families within 1,000 square foot, or 24 families within 1,000 square foot as long as they're 6 foot apart?
We're saying people, families, that's more of an indoor example that you're using in regards to sitting at a table or something along those lines. That's what the conversations are centered. In regards to using the family unit as a basis of definition within a sit-down situation at a restaurant or something along those lines. Outside, they never really talk about the term family. It's just 24 per thousand. That's all they've said. So I did not interpret it any further than that. So I can't say that your question I can answer on what
they're just not giving us enough information.
So, that being said, only up until the last 48 hours have I seen events trying to reestablish themselves. I think one of the ones that caught my attention the most was the LNC fireworks.
Midland Fireworks too.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they started yesterday.
So you're talking the last 48 hours, people are trying to kind of bring some things back along those lines. I guess they're trying to be very general with their approach. It's what the governor's on. So what we're seeing, they don't want to dot the i's across the t's and be very specific. They want to be very general about things. People pretty much make choices along those lines. The food truck vendors that are coming.
Yeah.
I just talked to the softball group this morning. They had 4 kids fall out because of COVID. So there'll be people who won't come to the food truck festival because I plan, promote, and do those types of things. What I can. How far we go in regards to things like that. Those are the logistics. I'm trying to figure out how we want to manage the event to try to minimize. We're trying to support that social distancing concept. That's our plan in regards to. The last point I'm tracking right now, and you're going to keep an eye on this hospital. That's being proposed in regards to addressing the legislation in regards to liability, in regards to providing events and venues and things along those lines, and the requirements in regards to what's being put out in regards to capacity and relying about social distancing and things along those lines. Those right now, for like the lodge and Four Seasons and Wine, the way it's being proposed is that we have a capacity number and recommending that we social distancing. And if we can show that we're doing our performing our responsibility of informing people about things, that's supposedly going to minimize the chance that you can sue along those lines. Yeah, it's not law yet. It's something that's being kicked around, but you should probably pay attention to that particular bill that's being pushed right there. Because everybody's asking, well, how do I protect myself in case someone says they got COVID-19? So they're trying to kind of craft something, whether it gets
You're
there.
going to have to ask them, how do they contract COVID in their facility is the question.
It's very complicated. I don't
Yeah,
disagree
prove
with
it.
you on that at all. But it's in the wind
Yeah.
right now. So I'm sharing that with you because this is the kind of stuff I'm trying to keep a pulse to. So as we open, we have to make good decisions on how we want to attack it. So back to the food truck festival, I just need to know if we want to move forward, and I would.
What do you recommend to?
Yeah, what's your recommendation?
My recommendation, I have concern, my concern is back to the crowd control in regards to that side. Like any other group that's going on up into this point in time that's not doing anything. That's my big concern in regards to venues that are bringing crowds in or selling tickets and having it in advance. Well, this is a free event. I'm not really hearing up until in the last 48 hours, free events starting to kind of come back. Now I've got a webinar today at 11 o'clock. I'd like to listen into an industry in regards to what they're talking about from events and stuff, and one on Friday. And I get out on a weekly basis on what's percolating in regards to these type of activities. And I just shared with you what I know about it at this moment. My recommendation right now would not be having that. But that said, that changes, I don't know, within the hour or within the day along those lines and what's out there. So not dotting I's, crossing T's, not, letting people make their own decisions. I mean, that says no. I mean, that really says no. Me, I'm a little more conservative along those lines in regards to what I think makes sense. So, I wrestle with that consciously. So my professional would be that we would take a year off, but if the direction of the board is to move forward based on not having really any solid thing to base it on, and we move forward and see the best we can in regards to running the event, and I'll do the best on that side of it. How many people come? That's an unknown. People are asking about it.
Well, I think people will come. They're itching to get out.
Oh, I don't disagree. But we will be one of the only festivals that we know about at this point in time that will be on public that is actually going on. So does that raise concerns that there are people who are itching to get out that are going to be more than what we could technically handle in that situation? So I'm just I wrestle with 1,000 scenarios. There's a million scenarios you can run. Just trying to figure out how you want to try to minimize all your risks or your challenges. That's what I try to put the bed before the day even comes.
Did
Yeah, we talked to our insurance carrier if they have any recommendations about liability. With hosting these things.
I'm not seeing anything from the insurance.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, I am with some private that just got off a call and protocols for an office setting and some other things where their insurance folks, they're giving them some advice on how they should practice safety in their facility ongoing and stuff. So I just don't know. I haven't had any conversations with whoever it is that does ours on with. They have them. That's all.
We're very active with PRO, which is that's what the Western Lodging Association. They also have some person that use events and all that This thing has built up in a couple subgroups, which I've been, again, working with and participating in for the last couple of months. If you were to listen to their webinars, 250 is 250. That's the rule that they have in the governor's office. Again, we've been more flexible in our working within that because there hasn't been anything that's real definitive. This is how you can or can't do something. The only MO, I would take their words verbatim, it's 250 means 250, but I'm not on that train 100%.
Yeah.
So, getting into
I have
change.
questions about the 250. Does that mean 250 within Beaver Brady's Run Park, or just that?
Using 1,000 square feet for 24 people based on outside space. That's all they're giving right now. That's all you have to work with. I'm not making anything up to have in my plan.
Sure.
That's all we have to work with at this point.
Do we know, did the governor veto House Bill 836 yet? Did the governor veto 836 yet? Do we know?
Certainly has indicated that he's going to. I'm not sure whether he has.
That's the House. Bill, it ends the emergency declaration and shutdown.
What they said on PRLA is if it's overturned, 5 minutes later, you can start a new one. And so he has the ability right away to clock that situation. So restaurants have been told, don't get all excited about dropping everything, going back to normal, because 5 minutes after he gets the decision, he can do the next one right away, and he's right to do so. So everyone's kind of watching, and I don't know any more than what he said. I've heard one way or
The which court? Common, please, or Commonwealth.
Commonwealth Court, yeah. So it's downhill with the state Supreme Court. But Tim's right, there's, and then it would be in effect for 30 days, and the legislature would have to vote all over again. They can play that game forever. But
If your recommendation is not to have it, it's board agrees with that. That's fine.
I certainly understand that. I mean, we've been delaying an edict because it has been an evolving situation.
Been very fluid. It's
The week, so. Well, I think we're reaching that deadline where we do a disservice to anybody that wants to be a vendor there to make enough time for planning. I mean,
they're doing small stuff. I mean, that's, we look at small little, things like that, but nothing in mass, like 15 or 20 trucks along those lines. 2, maybe 3. They're real small events, and they've been doing social distancing and keeping people in lines, and we're not going to have that ability compressed into that park with a couple hundred people. We're going to be standing on each other. And no doubt about that. When we have our peak runs, not that every minute's a peak run, but when it does happen, it will be. Okay. The next thing goes to the use of the indoor facilities. And if I didn't catch this last week, I don't know. I thought we were talking about it, but I was under the impression we were looking to open before I'm going to 4 seasons. I'm sensing that we are opening those. And if so, based on square footage or based on what they're recommending, protocols of that 36. And the barn is 500. 4 seasons is 2,400, and the barn lower and upper are roughly 2,200 square foot. That's where you get 140 to 70 and roughly 60 people in those venues. If we're going to rent them in the green phase, by telling the people who want them, these would be the numbers that should be. Now, whether telling them that and what they bring, 2 different things. We've done our responsibility by telling them this is what the protocol would be.
It should be posted too.
We posted inside the building saying, we would tell them as they're renting it, that at this point in time, the capacity of this venue is this number.
That's what I said, that they would be available under the guidelines, under the green phase of the government. And it's up to us to tell them what those guidelines are. If that's our capacity and it's now saying 50% of that capacity, whatever, you do the math, you post it, they make a request, that's what you tell them. Yes, you can use it, but here are the guidelines you have to use it under.
That's simple enough for me to do. I just want to know we're on that same page. So I'm not going to give the wrong number. Yeah, they bring 200 people, 140 person venue. We tell them, show us policing. We're not going to be able to do anything about that side of it. We're telling them this is what the kind of green operation that the number should be.
Tell them that they need to have proper and a septic there and
Put together a list of things that I wasn't sure we were at that phase yet, and now it seems that we are, so. We have a walk this weekend, it's once they use the lodge, it's about 100 people, which isn't a big deal for that on this Sunday, so we started, I already told them, based on what I've been seeing in emails, that was a great, work, but more people what's coming. July 1, we ran for 2021, people want to start using things now, they're asking about Four Seasons Lodge and Barn. And we're gonna open those up, which are the only venue that's not open from a park and rec standpoint. It's Stone Beach. Is that, we're still on set on that.
Correct.
We're gonna start testing the water and getting that ready up.
It's still closed, right?
the beach.
Yeah, the beach. Are the signs still, they're not taking the signs down, are they?
They're down
I
there.
say I drove by one day and they were all down.
Yeah, they're down.
Okay.
We'll put it back up and they're down. So it's, I mean, all they are is the yard signs sticking in the stand.
Can we put any signs on the fence or like on the building by where they walk to get to the beach and the ones on, just so, I mean,
Yes,
I mean, the ones on the stakes are easy to just to knock down. They might blow down. At least if we get something on that fence when they walk in, it says the beach is closed. At least we could say it's
well,
there.
we do. I gave-
They take those, they take them down. I know they'll be there, but, oh, I know. No, I know. I drove by one day and they were there and the signs were up. Yeah, so,
One of the things we do have fair possession of it is that I bought last year based on the size we use. We actually have a 3x6 banner. I think it's called Beach Club. And I think we prominent, kind of
Yeah.
bigger, real catch your eye. I think it's red with white letters. So it pretty much says that. People are going to do it. They're going to do it.
What's the replacement cost on that sign?
$100, something like that.
Put orange fencing,
So, playground fencing, another way to,
that highway, orange roll out fencing.
okay, maybe, so, I know what I'm doing there, I know how to move forward. Any discussion planned in regards to when or if when nights are being like reopen? Any kind of transactions at the gate? Now, we don't necessarily look for walkers or tennis, but to take rentals or something along those lines. Right now, we're preparing for an August 17th open. That's what we're cleaning and doing and painting and getting stuff ready for. That was our original target date. Not that we will open that date, but right now I'm working under that mindset of getting the building prepared for opening in August.
I don't see why you can't start taking reservations for those dates.
We're taking my phone right now.
Yeah.
It's in the queue. Right now, people coming and filling in paperwork would be easier to come to the counter, do what they need to do, get easier transition. Of course, we set a day or 2 days a week, especially in the beginning of the month.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see an issue with having someone come to the counter. Do you have employees there?
I have a man right there right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do that or not.
And you'd schedule someone there. I mean, it's going to be closed to the public rather than just taking reservations.
Right, yeah, we're not open for any kind of activity. I'm
We have
that's not-
plexiglass.
Dan,
Do we have any plexiglass?
It's there. I just right there, the sign is there, so everything's all right there, we're ready to go. That kind of stuff. And, from a consortium of organizations, that I've been talking with over this period, and it's pulled together by the Beaver County Chamber of Commerce. Involves the COG, Paramount. And what they're trying to do is establish a marketing campaign for Beaver County that deals with retail. Basically, we're open, this is what we sell. There's this one common database that the COG's working on with a local company. I can't think of the name right now off the top of my head, I'm blanking on it. The long story short, they're asking for a $2,500 participation without one of the floors in the beach going in. On that side, they've gotten $2,500 from Push already, the Chambers put $2,500 in. I don't know where the COG stands on it, but the goal is to get to a $10,000 campaign. Again, it's to support local, buy local, have a one-stop shop in order to pull something together. would share this, information on our website, as well. It's really centering around the river towns right now, even though it's county line. Talking to some of my peers, one of the concerns that was raised, was that, with room tax dollars, using room tax dollars, that it should be universal, that it shouldn't be targeting a small group or a segment along those lines in order to be inclusive, on that side of it. So there's a red flag, maybe a yellow flag that has an existing issue, that we need to be concerned about. But in today's times, I really think going forward that what we did as a tourism department and where things are going to be moving, I see them all. I mean, I really sooner than later in regards to how things can be done along those lines. I mean, right now we do have legislation that says X. But looking at small business, staying more local, things along those lines, I think are really going to be more of the focal point than reaching out broad and trying to bring people. If they figure out 2 years before people from outside 4 hours are going to probably be visiting outside family and friends. We're only 24 months on that window, so I want to say the study's coming back and showing that window. So really reconnecting with family, friends, running the product, staying local, running probably small business, being in that kind of a boat is seems to be what's being kicked around pretty hard for the last 6 weeks, and I see it continuing to evolve along those lines too. So what we've done, how we've done it, I think is kind of one of those things that we're just going to maybe do things a little differently. So even though this may not 100% fit on the bonds, it makes some sense. So I'm not against it. I'm not.
I mean, can't they make it inclusive? I
What's
mean,
that?
can't they make it inclusive of some of the
We're
municipalities?
not going to deny anybody at all. I'm just saying, especially what they're promoting is that small business. So
There's small business in other communities.
The COG has
No.
been, is the initiator of this. So I know not every municipality is part of the COG, but the COG has been,
They don't all attend, but they,
at least 40 of the 43 or something, 47 of the 53 belong to, but it was the COG that started with their database, their GIS mapping system. Now they've reached out. Lou Velati's been involved, Helen's been involved, and some other folks.
that GIS system that they're trying to put together.
So they're trying to list any business can list it there anywhere. And say what their hours are.
plan addressed that it's the river towns that people want. I understand that, but you have to look at your regs and see if we can actually use those dollars in something that's just specified certain communities. I mean, if you can do it, I don't have a problem.
They're not specific. My knowledge is, because I was brought in this conversation before, just came from the redevelopment authority meeting at 8. I mean, Senator Townsend's involved, different people. I mean, any place tourists would come in and spend their money is trying to be
And that's
on the map saying, we're open, here are new hours, or here are the conditions we're operating in. And any business in Beaver County get listed on there so that when people come in, they know who's open, where the restaurants are, where they can go. It's
That's well said.
it's just not the river
As simple
towns.
as I can say, is that we don't have more cause of slow businesses than the experience in Beaver County. I'm in a deficit of what to promote. I mean, it really is, it's a hand in glove. I get that side of it. It's just, this is a unique way of going at that, and I just want to make sure that I'm going to send you a memo based on our conversation to move forward with it. That's my recommendation, but I want to see what the discussion might be or concerns you all might have.
Yeah, just from the law office's side of it, I don't see any concerns with it, but maybe we'll talk more in depth after the meeting and we can just confirm that appears to be.
How about we give you approval contingent upon his research? And that way you can move on. Is that all right? Yep.
And now, Monday, this Monday, the playground at Brady Trump Park is going to be closed. We have the safety service. It's a one-day job. It'll have to be out of service for 24 hours. So Tuesday, this is all on that playground, but I want to finally got them to get in here to do that.
Thank you. Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah, just an update. I reached out to Bert Holt this morning, find out where we are with the Economy Park slide. I'm still waiting to hear back.
Okay.
And he told me a few weeks ago that we should know something within 2 weeks, so we're getting that time frame. I would be expecting to hear something. We will move forward with, the comparison.
Wayne said he couldn't make it today. He's doing something. He's doing taxes, or he's doing something for municipalities. But he did say on Monday, the bid for carpeting and flooring will be advertised. The Times has it, so it'll be in Monday's print. So
We'll be doing it in July.
give it.
We'll have a walkthrough in mid-July.
It's kind of like an announcement on, for you guys. On what's going on. We're absolutely swamped right now. There's so many trees now. So we're fighting that along with everything else that we have coming in. So just kind of like an announcement, asking partners, people to be patient with us. We'll get to you. This might not be as quick as normal, but
Are any of the trees in any areas or safety areas that not saying we should be bringing somebody in from outside, but you can't continue to back your work up elsewhere to
we have Brush Creek Park pretty much under control.
safe for the pedestrians to come in.
They surprised me. I figured it would be there. When they call Friday and said, hey, we got everything pretty much safe. I was surprised. Pleasantly surprised. Brady's Run Park, we've got some issues. There's some things going on this weekend. There's someone who has a wedding there. There's a big tree talking kids and the equipment that we need to handle that is at Brush Creek. We're also trying to get fields ready. We only have
Yeah,
there's
that's
people that can do. I explained that before. We only have one person to basically that operates the equipment. We ran equipment trying to get the ball fields ready for things to start this week, next week. So we're doing that. So it's kind of
where's the wedding at?
we're short. It's shelter 5 to be shelter 4. Shelter 4, and then they're having a ceremony there, and then they're moving to another shelter for the reception.
Do we put a number of how many people could be sitting in a shelter as well?
Again, it's the same square footage type of situation. It's that 24 people per 1,000.
And
Yeah, but they're not gonna understand that. You're gonna have to put no more than 125 people, no more than 200.
per 1,000, a shelter is probably only going to be allowed to have 15 people.
No. I mean, 1,000 roughly 30 by 30 tents. So you think about how many 30 by 30 tents, you usually get 100 or something people, some of the shelters.
That's 24 people. Those shelters aren't that big, Tim, are
You
they?
have to go around, you have open green space around it. You can, that is all part of that area. It's not the shelter itself, it's the area of the shelter. And that's how we do that. You're right. I mean, you just-
And people crowd together to eat and drink.
I think I'm getting back to the point of the food truck festival. That's a very large green space. And if you put a number there and say we're only allowed to have, and I agree. I'm in with canceling the food truck festival. I agree with the other two commissioners. But if we're putting signs up at shelters if we're putting signs up at shelters by saying you're only allowed to have 35 people in a shelter because it's 30 by 30, let's just say. But we're letting them have 200. Why are we not doing the same at the food truck festival?
It comes down to individuals themselves. We can put whatever up and tell them whatever we want. We've had shelters being rented right now where it was 25 and there were 100 people. And they're not what they want. I mean, what we say and what is the guidelines are not always followed by those out there in the public. We can just simply put a recommendation on what the size should be. Renting a private event situation, and where they've broken it down is they have private event considerations and public event considerations. They put them in 2 different buckets. So the food truck festival will fall into a public event, not a private, where your birthday party, you control, I think whatever, you control your guest list And it's supposed to come with social tracking. In regards to that side of it, you're supposed to names of who came to your event and what city they came from. That's in regards to what they're saying. Just sharing with you what the rules are that they're supposed to do in the event that they have to go back and do any kind of tracing.
Is it a recommendation or a rule? Just curious.
The recommendation.
Okay.
Yes, trust me, I use rules very carefully.
No, and that's one of the big arguments is even going back pre-K to 12th grade school, it's all recommendations because they're not going to put their neck on the line by saying you can or can't have X amount of people.
Not going to be honest and crossing the T's, they're not going down. They're putting those recommendations out there for us. I thought the only ones who were really getting hard the line stuff, are really the restaurants and the bars and things like that, when they have the state licenses for food and beverage. They're the ones that are getting a little bit more kind of policing, if you will, along those lines. When you get to our level, my observations are that a positive complaint, will they get looked at? I don't know. I mean, again, it's small new territory. And Chris, I'm with you. I understand
Yeah, I know.
what you're saying. I'm not trying to argue against
Yeah,
you.
no, and I mean, we're going to take the recommendation, and I think it's a hard, when we go out in public or when we get phone calls about why aren't we doing events or why aren't we doing this, and just as I brought up last week, Beaver Falls 2 weeks ago at a rally had 500 people. The courthouse here had 250 the other day. I've been to the food truck festival. I know we get thousands of people, but it's over a 6-hour window. That field's a very large field. If you could separate, and you separate them pretty distance already, if they're separated and you could have 30 people within a 30 by 30 square, 30 by 30 square is not that big. So I think it could be, I don't want to say policed, or it could be, at one time, how many people do you think we get at the food truck festival? A max.
And our peak, I said, 1,500, around 1,500 at that peak number.
Okay.
I'd say, but most of it's probably around 1,000. It kind of goes down. It starts slow and slow.
In the middle.
Kind of have that bumps around.
Any?
But Dan, you finished?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, Dan, I was going to go back to him. No, I was going to say. I was getting ready to say. I think I was getting ready to say
Good things.
anything else.
I can tell when he's here with bad things, but he's.
Anything else from that's us? Any other department head report? A solicitor's report.
We'll need an executive session to discuss employee issues and litigation matters. But as for the public portion, I don't have anything to your attention, but let's have some questions. Be happy to try and answer them.
You want to talk a little about this?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up in the commissioner's report. Beaver County was, I guess, awarded a little over $14 million from the CARES Act. There's different eligible expenditures that the law department is going to be looking through. Tony Caltori and Corey Troutman have completed the application for their tracking purposes. From what our knowledge is, it's going to be something like the Act 13, where we purchase or pay for something and we submit it and then we pull the money out. It's not for the application purpose. We didn't have to submit a project or an invoice already. It's just a purpose. So the eligible expenditures are offsetting costs of direct county responses, planning, and outreach efforts. This is all related to COVID-19. Purchase of personal protection equipment, administrative grant, the county no more than 2%. Assistance to the county municipalities for response of planning efforts, including purchase of PPE. Small business grants for businesses fewer than 100 employees that did not receive funding from the federal Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program established under the CARES Act. Tourism businesses of all sizes, including state and county fairs. CDFIs can be used to administer the grant program for small business and tourism businesses. Grant programs support the cost for assisting businesses during the COVID. CEDOs, LDDs, IRCs, SBDCs, and EDCs, behavior health and substance use disorder treatment services, broadband deployment with priority to unserved and underserved areas, nonprofit assistance programs, 501c3, 501c19 organizations. So
They aren't advertising to the municipalities. How are we gonna get the word out? Like broadband, we've got areas in the north and south of our county that the municipalities and the school districts, if they have the information, we can make an application.
yeah, so the application has to come to us, and I think until.
But they have, it has to, we're to pass through. They have to know.
So I think the issue is with broadband. Me personally, I don't think that should have been put on there, because for someone to come in and put broadband in a municipality, it's going to take longer than 6 months. And we only have till December 31st to spend $14 million. So for them to put a broadband project in place and get contracts and spend the money. And then the next thing is I guess the question for the law department is how do you say that, what's one of the municipalities? Let's just say, Hookstown doesn't have broadband because of COVID-19. These have to be COVID-19 related funding. So it's a very, I agree. I mean,
When they put out a big number, people are gonna say, Beaver County got, how much did you say it was?
a little over 14.
And they're not going after it. They're not, I mean, we're the pass through. People have to understand that they have to make these applications. They have to realize that as a municipality, fire department, police, whatever organization's trying to do this, they have to do it through us. And the window's very, very short.
Well, the applications don't go through the state.
It comes through us.
It comes to us and we decide where the money goes. So that's, I mean, and at this point, we just got this information.
Earlier the year, I've already gotten 8-10 emails
Yeah,
asking if
they qualify.
this issue that they have qualifies for those.
They want to know the process.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And there was
We
no
just-
process put together. We just got this information within the last week or two, and they're really starting to see CCAP really put some information out on.
To your point, Commissioner, once we determine the process, maybe we reach out to each and every
Municipality with a letter.
municipality and let them know, look, here's the process. This is the deadline. Get us.
So again, the COG's aware, because they were one of the ones that gave me a call saying, hey, is this project we're working on eligible? I said, write something up, send it in, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's all. I just told them, send it in and we'll figure it out.
It has nonprofits. I mean, everybody.
C3 nonprofit. Unfortunately, it doesn't have C6s and C4s, which are also hurting and could use some financial assistance. The chambers are C6s. There's a lot of faith-based groups. No,
There's so many of them.
Corey's coming down next week
CEDs are
to meet with
C6.
Lisa Signor and the groups of people who this could affect and start getting the word out. So I'm sure he'll be able to give us more information on what he's gathering.
Yeah, Corey said Susquehanna has put together a team of 4 to 5 people specifically over this across all counties. And this is how they will consistent process that we across all the counties.
We had a discussion yesterday. I know we internally in our meeting, municipalities might already be getting reimbursements from PEMA and FEMA for PPE that they purchased. They put in for it. So it's going to be a lot of checks and balances of, did they already get reimbursed? And if they did, are they eligible for ours? I don't think, So the only other thing I have is a executive session for personnel matter.
Just 2 quick things. You have the Agricultural Land Preservation Board meeting tonight at the Conservation District. There's been a proposed MOU that needs to be signed between the Farm Preservation Group and us as commissioners acknowledging this. Nate has been given that. We're taking a look at that. I don't know if we sign it today or we need.
No, it would be the last ones.
We'll have to, or whether we'll do this at the next public meeting on next Thursday or whatever it is. And other than the CARES thing, I want to talk an executive session issue as well
All right.
about organization.
Darren, did you have anything? I know Nate covered public. Do you have anything?
No, the only thing that I was gonna add is that we had the, on call on Monday, trying to get one ratings, we're expecting to have at the end of the month. Looking like bond closing sometime, but they haven't been set yet, but probably sometime mid to end of July. And then we need to do a session for, monthly contract negotiation, personnel matters.
All right. We will move to audience participation. Mr. Rowley?
Hi, I have one thing, how could the waters come in this area that we're spending money to water for the hotel?
Hotel audit.
I'm sorry,
The hotel audit.
hotel was installed since COVID, obviously. They were three, we're starting the fourth one. And it's all kind of hit, so it's not.
So with what you've done so far, there's nothing big.
There's been some money found at this point in time, but there's been some contested because you gotta give them a chance to reply back, so for that number gets finalized. We're just kind of doing our due diligence, reporting on what our audit showed, and let them respond back based on the information that they received.
But that clock has started again.
In regards to hotel audits, I have to check, I've not reached out to our auditor. Reach out to him today, find out what his plans are.
The second quick thing is talking about all the municipalities in the county. Do you have a routine mail site to get to each one of them? Do you have a mailing list so that if you had something to do, say, it goes out to all?
Yeah, Tony has a point of contact. Our office has points of contact for each, whether it's a secretary, borough manager, or president, or chairman of council, or commissioners, depending on what the municipality is.
Things like you were talking about.
Yeah, we could easily, once we get our policies in place, we could easily blast I'm sure they know about it because Garen represents a few municipalities, and he has received emails from the state association for municipalities. What would it be? Town.
You talking about the CARES?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been notice put out to the municipalities.
They know if they need money to come to us, but we will reach out to them.
Say, show me the money.
Yeah. You just state your name, sir, so we have it.
Bill Hummel.
Thank you.
Bill Hummel too. So
That's easy.
we have I guess, an issue with the county tax assessor. He's forcing people into doing subdivisions that, we feel are unnecessary. The instance that brought this to our attention, the person, the property owner, he owns two pieces of ground. They're deeded separately. The one piece of ground was deeded in 1937. The other one was in 1945. Now they adjoin each other. At some point, county tax assessor, don't know at what time, or it was combined under, it wasn't combined, but it was put under one tax parcel number. Now the property owner wants to sell, or he did actually transfer a deed to his grandson for the one parcel of ground. But the county tax assessor is saying that he has to do a subdivision on this property, I guess, when I spoke to him about it, he said we were to subdivide the county tax parcel number. How do you subdivide a tax parcel number? He would not answer that for me. He would only say you are to subdivide the tax parcel number. From,
How did they get that together? I mean, how did two parcels become one without the
they're
owner?
not, they are deeded separately. Now, it was common practice by all the county's tax assessors to put multiple pieces of ground under one tax parcel number.
They
And
only sent one tax bill out to people, instead of sending 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They had adjoining properties.
It was prior to, in my research into the issue, Mr. Hummel and I have spoken together. My research into the issue was they were conjoined into one tax parcel number prior to the passage of the PMPC. And actually, at least the assessment's office notes indicate that Mr. Hummel, requested the same. Now, whether or not that's true or not. And then, so they were one parcel, then the municipal planning code passed, and it has been the assessment office's position from that time. So 40 some years.
Municipal planning code passed in the 70s.
So it came into effect around, yeah.
72. If you have two adjoining properties, you have two separate titles or deeds to those two separate parcels. You're telling me that the county has the right to put those together?
Prior to the, yes.
Hey, that is
You're-
only for purposes when they were combined. They weren't combined by deed or by any type of subdivision or anything else. They were
Well, it's
only,
already subdivided. Why would you require a subdivision if it's already subdivided?
And that is the question that I went to the assessment office with, and they explained their position. I wish I could, I asked Mr. Hummel, I said, you know, tomorrow's meeting might have been a better meeting to come to. He preferred to come to this meeting, because then Mr. McElwain would have been able to defend or at least explain his side of it. But I spoke with Mr. Coleman about it. He insists that a plan of lots is required to divide a tax parcel number following the PMPC, the passage of the PMPC, which this was one tax parcel at the passage of the PMPC. And so to get it into two tax parcel numbers, I told Mr. Hummel, you know, contacted my office. I told Mr. Hummel, well, I understand his position. I couldn't find anything that what the assessment office was doing was impermissible or illegal. He was, you know, and so that's where we stand. That's right. And then so we looked into other counties, how other counties were doing it. I know Mr. Hummel looked into Lawrence County. They do not do it the way we do it. Bartlett County apparently does require a subdivision in this particular situation. Washington County hasn't yet returned our email.
I'm just having a hard time
Sure.
understanding this.
and
I've been doing
you know,
this a long
The
time.
cost of a subdivision today, you're looking at anywhere from $8,000, probably $800, to probably over $1,000 easy to get a subdivision done. This was nothing that these property owners, you know, they were going by what the county tax assessment office at the time did. They weren't doing anything.
Yeah, I think that what we can do is we have an assessment meeting tomorrow with the assessment office. It's open to the public if you want to come. We can bring this issue up with them, discuss it with them, and get a response back to you.
I think you said they're claiming under the municipal planning code that they have the right to be doing this.
They're using that as the justification for why they're taking the position that they are in.
Well, I spoke to people who are very knowledgeable on a municipal planning code. The only ones that have the authority to enforce or to oversee, that I was told that would oversee subdivision is the local municipalities. They are the ones who are charged with overseeing subdivision.
Yeah, they would approve it, but the actual tax parcel number has to be given by the tax assessment office.
Well, yeah, they have nothing to do with the tax office, but does the tax office have the authority to be enforcing subdivision regulations? And this subdivision, if you want to look at it, it's not a land subdivision. It has nothing to do with subdividing a piece of parcel of ground. They're already two separate pieces of ground.
Yeah, your issue is just trying to get a tax parcel number on that other piece of
Right,
land.
so he's gonna force people to spend, like I'm saying, $800 to probably a lot more to create a very expensive picture of the property,
It's already done.
so he can do what? Do
Sorry,
exactly
Ben.
what he was gonna do anyhow, if he just issued a tax parcel number to the one piece of ground and corrected his assessments. And if he's claiming that under, I guess, the municipal code, that he has the authority to combine people's property, then where was he given that authority to combine somebody's property without their knowledge, without their permission,
Having those,
or without going through the proper subdivision procedures?
having those properties been combined into one tax parcel number for years.
That was common practice with the tax assessors. I spoke to, Lawrence County's assessor. He said either, not him, because since he's been the assessor, it's been, you know, around, it gets a tax parcel number.
Right, so your issue, just so we're clear, your issue is you had two separate legal descriptions for a piece of, for property that traditionally has had one tax parcel number.
Yeah.
Now what you want to do is you want to take one of those pieces of that have a legal description and add another tax parcel number to
It's
that.
already deeded.
Well,
Or you just want to have a tax parcel number on the second legal description.
Right.
Right.
And
I think it was their request initially to only have it as one.
Back in the 70s.
Back in, I don't know when that was, back decades ago. And now you're saying you want to have two tax parcel numbers to it. And the question is, how do we do that? Do we just assign a number to it, or do they have to go through a subdivision procedure in order to get that second tax parcel?
but like I said, what subdivision do you proceed with? Because under land subdivision, requirements for a land subdivision are the changing of a property line, the removal of a property line, or the creating of a new property line. That's what constitutes a subdivision to be enacted or done. And none of that's happening here. So if he wants a land subdivision, and that's the only thing I know that there is, how does he have the right or the authority to enforce a land subdivision when there's no subdivision taking place?
When the Hendershots was told that they had to do this, they went to the North Woodley Supervisors meeting and asked them about the procedures. The solicitor ruled that since these were two separate deeds that were done prior to subdivision codes being enacted, that the township didn't want to see it. It was not a subdivision as far as they were concerned.
It's not a subdivision.
So they said those are two separate individual parcels as far as they're concerned, because that's the way they were set up. And you didn't have to go through the procedure of subdivision. You did it because there was no ordinance for it back in 37.
And if there's no actual land subdivision taking place, if that's what he wants them to do, well, you know, the local municipality shouldn't even see it because there's no land subdivision. So what kind of subdivision does he want?
That's why I asked you to come to tomorrow's meeting, sir. We can't answer those questions.
I tried speaking to Mr. McElwain, and like I said, the only answer I got from him was that you were to subdivide his tax parcel number or the county's tax parcel number. And I spoke to the assessor up in Lawrence County. I've spoken to other people. They have no process for which you subdivide a tax parcel number.
You have anything you can leave with us to,
I have
for that
the
description, just,
tax records, which could be pulled up for that property. I can get copies of these.
You can make copies next door before you leave, so you can take your original.
We can't come tomorrow, 10 o'clock?
No.
It's a public meeting. That's where the decision will be made. It's the three of us to make the decision, but it's a different public meeting.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10.
The same office.
I can just
Yeah.
print copies in?
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
The next door down, come in that.
Okay, because, like I said, you know, Lawrence County, he says there's no reason to require a subdivision. So, I don't know, but I think, you know, putting a property owner through a very expensive process for no reason at all, what's it accomplish? You know, a very expensive picture that he's gonna do the same result anyhow. He's gonna give a tax parcel number, a new number to the one piece. And, you know, if he's doing that, I mean, I don't think it's right.
If you look at the tax map that you have now, it shows 2 lots on that parcel. But there's only one parcel number. If he forces you to go through a subdivision, you're gonna get the same picture of 2 lots, but they'll have lot 1 and lot 2.
It'll be 0.01, one will be
So
six
then
hundred.
he'll take that tax parcel and assign it to one of the lots. He'll take the same number to the next lot and put a 0.001 on it. He can do that with his map that he's got right now. And not cause people to have to pay $1,000 or better for Mickey Mouse stuff.
Understand you, so that's why I said, if we had a picture or something, we'd say, makes it easier.
We'll be well versed on it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nate and Garen will give us some more information. And
Yeah, and I think more importantly, the person who sees value in doing it that way will be there to answer, be able to defend why he,
Explain his rationale.
why that his rationale is what it is. So I told you, Mr. Hummel, I don't know how to survey and I don't know how to assess. So
I'm not a tax assessor, but like I said, you said, bars,
that's my understanding.
we've never heard of anything in Butler County, something like that. And, I mean,
I asked Mr. McElwain to reach out to other counties around us, see if he could find anybody else doing the same thing. He came back with what I reported.
But if he says we requested that, that's not true, because I didn't even know that there was 2 lots on there. And I wouldn't go in and request it. I've never
Well,
talked to him about it.
the property that we're discussing actually came off of my father's property. But like I said, it was done in 37,
43.
and 45, and he
45.
bought the property in 65. And that's when he found out that those 2 lots had been, the original property owner, the farmer, gave these 2 lots to his daughter. And that's when they found out that they were actually deeded off of the property. So there's no way my father could have combined them or done anything with them. He didn't own them. And the only thing he could have done was gone in and said, hey, I found out these pieces are out of this property. You need to show them on your map or something. You know, I don't even know who the assessor was back then.
Well, I never did anything with it.
So,
Yeah, and I don't think anybody around, I don't think anybody's around anymore. I think it was a notation in a file, and I think tomorrow should be productive.
tomorrow is,
Sounds good.
okay.
Thank you. Any other audience participation? Hearing none, we will, any reason to reconvene from the executive session? We'll move into executive session, not reconvene. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Wood.
I mean, Mr. Wood.
Good seeing you. How you